Hello, welcome to each and every one of you who are listening to this Dhamma talk. I'm very grateful that you'll take some time out of your life, your busy days, to listen to this Dhamma, and I trust you'll get a blessing. Today, we're on page 45. We're talking about dependent origination. It's a very complex or very deep, insightful teaching of the Buddha. It's almost a foundation stone of the teaching, and at least some grasp of this teaching is essential for us to practice the Dhamma in the best possible way. Today, we're talking about samsara, and we'll see some brief definitions of what that Pali word means. Inner turmoil. Samsara is often described as the life we live in the secular world. I've been pointing out that the life we live is the life we live in the mind, in consciousness, regardless of the conditions around us in what we call the physical world. So here's some definitions of samsara. Let's see. Second one, samsara and nibbana lie in the same place. Well, this harks back to this yin-yang symbol that I've mentioned several times. It's ironic or even inconceivable that ignorance and the suffering that results from ignorance and liberation and the peace and goodwill, the equanimity that results from liberation rise out of the same place. So samsara and nibbana lie in the same place. Samsara is knowing. When the citta is no longer deluded, it is the knowing that will be relinquished. We've talked about the one who knows, the knower, about just know and let go. This is a reference to that, when the citta is no longer deluded. So when the mind has been released from the ignorance that has covered its brilliance, then we are liberated from the ignorance. Ignorance is like a shadow. It's not the real thing. And we don't attempt to destroy or eliminate the shadow. We go to the source of the shadow. So when we go to the source, that's the heart of the pure Dhamma. Just know, or know and let go, or know with upekkha, equanimity. These are all the same. Do not hold on to the knower. You're not the knower. Just know ceaselessly. So we have been instructed previously, we must develop this knower. Otherwise, we're just living in the secular mind all the time, just like everyone else. But as we develop this sense of a knower, someone watching, the watcher, it helps us separate the experience that is happening in the secular mind, the secular world, from it happening to me. As I mentioned previously, the development of this knower is like developing a raft to get across the river. It's an essential tool that we must use, but one that we must let go of once it's served its purpose. Vedana. 4b. Pleasure or ease or pleasure pain, or neither pleasure nor pain, neutral feelings. The Vedana are these sensations that arise on the body. They're most often very subtle, unless there's direct sensations, the result of coming in contact physically with other physical items. Certainly if we shake hands with someone or hold hands with them, etc., that's a physical a contact that produces a rather powerful sensation. When we see something, that produces a sensation. When the ears make contact with sound, that's a sensation. We're not consciously aware of these sensations, but they do arise because that's their nature, to arise as sensations on the body. And it's memory that is actually recording its opinion of those sensations, rather than the complete experience we are having when those sensations arise. All feelings are dependent on contact by way of the world through the six sense doors. So this is why there needed to be nama rupa, a body-mind. There won't be any sensations without a body-mind. And excuse me, these sensations arise continuously as we make contact with the world through the six sense doors. So even as we're thinking, we're creating sensations through the thought process. Thought process has an emotional component. So that is recorded as sensations on the body. Vedana, the feeling aspect of the citta, which displays the results that become apparent coming from sanya, memory, and sankhara, and acknowledged by way of vijnana. So this is this chain reaction. We have a body, we come in contact with objects through the six sense doors that create sensations. The memory records those sensations. The mind's thinking capacity creates thoughts about this experience and rambles on about all kinds of things. And then there's consciousness that knows all of that just happened. Now we move on from the sensations, Vedana, to a memory or perception, Sanya, that's listed as 4C on page 45. Sanya, perception, recognition, cognizing, recollecting, that's another word for memory, a memory, reminiscing, interpretation, conjecturing, assumption, assumed knowledge. So there's a very broad definition of what is being called sanya in the scriptures. In any case, it's something like a memory bank. I sometimes think of it as the internet. I don't know where all that information is stored, but it's accessible to us in less than a second most of the time. So is our memory. We just can pull up all kinds of memories, usually, regard up to once we start consciously really having them. So without memory, we literally wouldn't know where the kitchen was in the place where we live. We get out of bed, we wouldn't know where the bathroom was, where the kitchen is. We might not know how to get dressed. and we wouldn't know anyone because we would have forgotten. This is the sort of tragedy of the Alzheimer's patient. They lose memory. They have to be helped in every possible way to get through their day. So obviously, memory is a critical component of our daily functioning. We couldn't get to work, we couldn't do our work, etc., etc. The ability to recognize and designate. So that's, we have an opinion about it. We designate what is this thing that we're experiencing. The perception of various characteristics, distinguishing features enable one to remember. That's, I believe, self-explanatory. Memory itself is the basis of our concept of time. This is really important. Memory gives us a sense of continuity, so we can remember something from earlier in the day or from last week, last year, and so forth, back to the very early years of our life. And that continuity, that kind of a continuous line that has stretched back and then forward for many years, is essential to our sense of identity. And I see articles written by scientists as they study this phenomena of time and space, and I'm confused. I'm not scientifically minded enough to know what they're getting at, frankly. The only time there is, as far as I'm able to understand, is the present moment. Memory is an illusion. It's a fantasy. I think previously it was characterized as a mirage. And the future, likewise, is a fantasy. It's just some expectation, some hope, some dream of something that is not existing in the present moment. But the sense of time, obviously, is that there is a past, we're in the present moment, and there's going to be a future moment. Normal mental activity that jumps completely over the present moment. It just goes from memory to sankharas that fantasize, imagine, fabricate, construct, etc. In the present moment, it's doing that often about something it imagines the future will be. So the whole point of mindfulness is to bring the mind to the present moment, and it does not come to the present moment naturally. Its habit is the past and the future. So without mindfulness, we can't catch these sankharas, these thought processes that are arising moment by moment, and disassociate with them, and not claim them as belonging to me, as being constituting who I am, and being able to evaluate them as wholesome or unwholesome, healthy or unhealthy, helpful or unhelpful, in relation to the work we're doing on the path of Dhamma. So memory itself is the basis of our concept of time. And the present moment is the only time that we have to do our work. We, as everyone knows, can't change the past, and we can do very little to influence the future. Memories become a refuge from the uncertainties of impermanence. So they're kind of an island that we retreat to so we feel like a life has some stability, that there's something we can count on. But when we talked about anicca, dukkha, and anatta, dukkha was impermanence, insubstantiality. It's the fact that everything changes, and to imagine that it doesn't, or hope that it doesn't, or wish that it wouldn't, is delusional. And our ability to accept this impermanence is a blessing that allows us to ride the waves of change, regardless of how violent or shocking or disappointing or heartbreaking they might be. So it's interesting that so many people retreat into their memories even when they're horrific or terrible. People have painful experiences in childhood, and for whatever reasons, they cling to those as forming the nature of their identity, and it's very difficult for them to learn to let go of something that no longer exists anywhere in the world except as a memory. 4D, sankharas, is mental formations, volitional formations. See page 42. In other words, we've covered sankharas to some degree on page 42, so we're not going to talk as much about it right now. The creative ability of the mind, thinking about virtue or vice, past or future, without limit. So this is an essential understanding, this without limit. If we don't put the brakes on sankhara, it will manifest formations forever. And I don't just mean in this life, we mean forever. Whatever eternity is, there will be sankharas if we don't practice mindfulness and learn how to observe them arising without interest, without clinging, without holding on, without being fascinated. They arise and will pass away. They will not create new seeds for us to continue this life after life after life. Today I'm going to turn the page to page 46 to conclude what we've been talking about. Right now we're talking about sankharas. So here's Sanya perceives and sankharas analyze and interpret. So memory is Sanya is a stored memory, and then sankhara has something to say about that. It analyzes, interprets, and colors it according to its intentions or its will. Sanya and sankhara create all the deception, assume and presume. So these are not our friends. This is the mother of kilesa. This is how we get distracted and engage in a world that of our own creation. very important to admit, to see clearly that whatever is going on in our mind in the present moment is something we are allowing to go on. How it came into being in the present moment may be a mystery. Once it has arisen, it's our job to see if it's worth paying attention to or whether we should let go of it like we're holding a poison snake. Sanya and Sankaras are mesmerized by the thoughts that arise from kilesa, tanha, and asavas. So I love this word mesmerized. There was a man in the late 1800s who more or less discovered this ability that humans have to be hypnotized. And originally, the phenomena of hypnotism was called mesmerism. So the image of being hypnotized is really valuable because it is the power of suggestion. And we've had people suggesting to us our entire life, and we have never questioned their suggestions. We've just accepted them without question. As we wake up in the practice of the Dhamma, that's our goal, is to stop living a life of post-hypnotic suggestion. So Sankaras and Sanya, they're hypnotized, they're mesmerized by the thoughts that arise as kilesa and tanha, clinging, and asava, these opinions and views that we're stuck on, the belief that we're human, the desire to exist, etc. They are constantly creating feelings and emotions to disturb us, to become attached to our ramana. So that word has something to do with, well, we're going to see it defined in a moment. The fact that these activities of mind are disturbing means that we cannot experience the pure peace, the pure tranquility or equanimity as long as the mind is ruminating from past to future, past to future. So it's disturbing our own peace of mind. It doesn't have anything to do with right or wrong. It doesn't have anything to do with someone judging us, a supreme being of some kind, or creating a future in heaven or hell. It is the present moment. It is disturbing us and keeping us out of a bliss or peaceful state. And to that degree, we're in some kind of hell because, if we use an analogy, we're not in heaven. So aramana, those are mental objects and emotions the heart becomes attached to. Obvious ones are people that we love, children or family members. It can be sports, a hobby, music, travel, history, whatever hobbies we have, whatever things that we are emotionally attached to, but also subject us to, when they may be lost, broken, destroyed, stolen, immediately we begin to suffer. And the degree to which we suffer is related entirely to the degree to which we were attached to that thing. They can be externally sensed objects, that would be anything in the world, or an internal condition arising from the khandha. So it can be something that you perceive and value and are attached to that comes to you through the five sense doors, or it can be any kind of mental, emotional memory or value that you are attached to. They can be an emotional state, good or bad. I just previously mentioned some people are extremely attached to bad experiences they have had. Emotional impulses, emotional attractions, emotionally involved, emotional attachments, emotional support, supporting conditions for the mind, an object or situation. Now, in contemporary psychotherapy, emotions are praised, they're valued as defining who we are, and that we should listen to our emotions. We should recognize they're a teacher and that they constitute our identity. As I've mentioned now for the third time, the emotional attachments we have to events from the past and the emotional attachment we have to what we want the future to be like. In Buddhism, these sankharas are a problem. They are disturbing us. They are keeping us out of, quote, the kingdom of heaven. They are keeping us away from a Buddha mind, pure mind. So it's a radically different approach to how we can find a peace of mind and live a beautiful life from that as it's discussed in a psychotherapy. So aramana, that is another definition, a preoccupation or a mental object. So past or future, a preoccupation, something the mind keeps going back to over and over because of the vibrations that it creates on the body when the mind relives a past experience or the anticipation it has for some future experience. I heard a saying, anticipation is half the fun. It just obviously means we can create some exciting sensations on the body, anticipating a future experience. This will conclude today's talk. As always, and I'm not saying this from memory, but from the heart, thank you very much for taking your time to listen to Dhamma talks, any of the Dhamma talks you may listen to. I hope and believe we are blessed by hearing the truth, that they form a kind of seed in our heart. They stimulate our heart to know more and to practice Dhamma as perfectly as we can. Thank you very much.